The Hagmann Hagmann Report for today. It's Thursday, October 16, 2014. I'm Doug Hagmann, co-host with my son, Joe Hagmann, fellow investigator, researcher extraordinaire in studio. Together we are the Hagmann Hagmann Report. I want to thank each and every one of you for joining us tonight from wherever you might be listening to this program, in front of your computer, on your radio or your smartphone or your whatever device you're using. I want to just say hello and thank you so much for listening. Of course, you know that we broadcast live. This is a live program, a live broadcast. We broadcast live each and every weeknight from 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern. Don't forget about our weekend edition, of course. That's every Saturday, same time slot. And, of course, we're teamed up with Sheila Zielinski, the Weekend Vigilante. Thanks so much for being part of our lives. Ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea what you mean to us as we go through the cards, the letters, the information that you have provided, the books that you have written, and the various bits of information. And although it might not seem as such, we do touch, read, contemplate, research every piece of mail that we get, both postal as well as email. Folks, we've got a great show for you lined up tonight. A couple of announcements before I bring Joe on. I do want to say one thing, however. Tomorrow night, we're going to have Nathan Leal on after Joe comes on here in a moment. We'll talk about that and the reason behind that. But one thing I want to talk to you about, folks. I talked this here just before showtime, a little bit ago, to Steve Quayle. And on his website, folks, if you go to stevequayle.com, that's stevequayle.com. If you go to his website, on the top right-hand side, you may have to refresh your browser, but on the top right-hand side of his website, he's got a red graphic there. It's underneath Giants in Ancient History. It's called Ebola and Diseases. You click on that, that will take you to a special part of his website, a different page with links to various things. As a matter of fact, our programs with Steve Quayle and Dr. S. and soon Greg Evenson will be up there as well. I know Dr. S. is already up there, the program that we did, and that's a direct link audio file. So in other words, where you see Steve Quayle and Dr. S. critical update on the Hagmann Hagmann Report, that takes you directly to the BTR link. You don't have to, you just press that and bang, you can listen to it right there, you can download it, you can do whatever. But folks, I just want to say that Joe and I have spent just about all of our waking time over the last 18 hours looking at the Ebola situation. And I contacted Steve Quayle, talked to him, or he contacted me, I should say, and then we both talked about this. And if we look at the images, if we look at the video, if we look at everything that's associated with this Ebola, does any of this make sense to you? And I was talking with Kim. I just want to say hello to Kim and Kim's mom. God bless you so very much for everything you do for this program, Kim and Mom. If I can call you Mom. Not Kim, but Kim's mom. Thank you. God bless you. You're very, very important to us. When I was talking with Steve, I said, Steve, none of this really makes sense to me, to us, to Joe, to me. And it's hard to articulate this. And we were talking with Nathan Leal. Joe, welcome. Come on, why don't you come on here and join the housekeeping section?
If I have to. No.
I know.
Yeah, the more we look at this Ebola, the more apparently my head wants to explode, because it's like going around in circles and not finding answers in any place, real answers in any place. But Nathan, is coming on Monday, tomorrow, I'm sorry. I
was going to say, we just talked to him, so tomorrow, yes. Okay.
Yeah, and I asked him if he was concerned about this, and he said not particularly concerned about contracting Ebola, but the other things that can happen, or the agendas that would be implemented due to the Ebola or whatever this is, are the concern. And the lack of organization, the lack of leadership, the lack of any semblance of organization when it comes to combating this is a problem.
Which lines up with what Steve said, too.
Frankly, if we could go a night without talking about Ebola, I'd be happy.
Well, yeah.
I understand it's important, but it is,
Well, when I talked with Steve, ladies and gentlemen, I asked Steve, I said, okay, just to be clear, your position has not changed from when you and Dr. S were on. Yes, this is a virus, but his statement, and he made it very plain, where's the blood? For example, we're talking about a very lethal 90% efficacy rate, mortality rate, morbidity rate.
He posted info on his site. I'm not sure if it was a video or pictures of what Ebola death looks like, how actual, blood comes out of the ears and the eye sockets, and how bad it really is. And he's saying this, whatever this is not the same as this, which is what documented Ebola cases look like.
Right, and what Joe and I did over the last, and I'm saying 18 hours, because we began well before.
As soon as the show ended. I've been sitting in this chair for 24 hours. No.
Well, just about. No, you're not too far off the mark there. But what's talking with Steve Quayle and talking with where he pointed out with his shows, and folks, you can find it again on stevequayle.com. Definitely bookmark stevequayle.com, but also continually check the Ebola section. It's a brand new section on his website. But what he said, it made perfect sense. And what he's been saying, this is a engineered virus that is related to, now I'm going to perhaps butcher what he said a little bit, but it's related to the filoviruses. However, it's not.
What was that word?
Filoviruses. F-I-L-O viruses. Right. Yeah, we've talked about this. Well, in fact, when you were out, I think on Monday I talked about this, but he said this is a manufactured, based on his research, his contacts, his information, this is a manufactured virus. This was manufactured in a laboratory. And it doesn't have the blood is missing. Where's the blood, I guess, is instead of where's the beef, where's the blood? Of course, if you're old enough to remember the commercials, where's the beef from Wendy's, where's the blood? That's the question that's being asked. So when you look at it from that perspective, and you see 4 people or 5 people, including a patient, Ebola patient, in biohazard suits, and a guy from the CDC holding a clipboard and in street clothes, to me, you've got to. I looked at that image and I'm thinking, what the heck, really? I mean, what's going on here? Because incompetence and stupidity cannot, unless the man is by definition, and I mean this clinically, a moron in terms of his IQ. You certainly wouldn't find me in that position, Joe. I don't know about you. If that was full-blown Ebola, Zaire, or whatever strain, Ebola, whatever kind of Ebola Congo, or I can't remember the name of that, or even Ebola West, you're looking at something a little bit different. There's a different composition to this. Now but again, it's still, yes, it's dangerous. Yes, absolutely, it's dangerous. However, it's not the Ebola of the biohazard collection as discussed by Ken Allenbeck necessarily. This is a special created strain. This, according to Steve Quayle. And I think that if you listen carefully to Steve Quayle when he was on with Dr. S, he explained that very well, as well as with Greg Evenson. He explained that very well. Now, better than I could articulate. Now here's, and I'm going to kind of throw this in the mix as Joe and I were going through this, drinking copious amounts of coffee in order to understand exactly what's taking place. It's interesting, the symbology behind this. If you look at, for example, how Ebola came to this country, it was introduced by airplane. Was it not? Of course it was.
I don't know. Did it come over like the Montauk Monster from Plum Island?
Well, no. I mean, the official story, the official account is that the Duncan brought it over and to Dallas. Correct? I mean, that's the official story. He was infected with the Ebola virus. He flew on a commercial aircraft from West Africa through Washington and ultimately to his destination in Dallas, where he traveled on. He left West Africa on September 19th, 9/19, September 19th. Now, when you begin to overlay, and here's the bigger picture, and I think this helped me understand a little bit more deeper what's going on, a little bit deeper as to what's really going on. When you begin to overlay the occult numerology, the Illuminati numbers here, you start plugging in the numbers. It takes you to a new level of understanding. For example, look at when he traveled. It was on the 19th. Look at, for example, when he died. It was on 10/18, correct? Or 10/8, I'm sorry, 2014. Look at, as well, the time of death, 7:51 a.m. If you do the math on this, what you'll find out, at least in my view, is, or when you look at the occult numerology and the significance, and I won't go through all of it, but you can do this on your own. Understanding what the Illuminati, the numbers, the signals, the things that they send out, the messages that they send out, through numbers, through signs, and we've talked about this. We talked about Harper's Bazaar magazine with who was it? Katy Perry, right, on the cover. I wish I could. We got to go on video again. Joe's. I'm looking over at Joe in the studio. He's got a book in his mouth, and he's got I don't know what he was doing with the computer here, and headset, one hand on the keyboard. So anyway, good picture.
I was putting I needed the book that was propping up the back of my computer, so I had to switch what I was using to prop up the computer, so I had to grab the book that was already there. Yeah, that probably looked kind of silly.
That was a pretty good picture there. But yeah, look, if we crunch the numbers, if we look at the messages, was it Katy Perry that was on Harper's Bazaar?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We look at the symbology behind everything. Apply that to the Ebola scare. And this, to me, what we've got right now is, yes, there is a patented, manufactured, laboratory-made virus that is in this country and is being spread. And certainly the first case is in Dallas. And think in the larger sense, the decapitation of our government, Dallas, 1963, 50 years later, the decapitation, in Dallas in 1963. And I did a if you go to our YouTube channel, on the 50th anniversary, or for the 50th anniversary of Kennedy's assassination, I put together a montage of clips where they're coming after us next. They took out Kennedy in 1963. Now they're coming after us. We are making that turn into Dealey Plaza. That's our. I mean, we as people, as citizens of this country. So we We are the intended victims here. If we look at the symbology, look at what's taking place. Why Dallas? Why not California? Well, because this is done to create a message. And if I sound a little bit off, that's because this is what really 20 hours of research or 18 hours of research does to you. But one thing I found during my research was, do you recall this last Super Bowl 2014? There was a commercial. We know that the power elite speak to us through,
or each other, and
that's a better way
symbolism,
of saying it. Right.
From the subliminal messages that are on the TVs and movie screens, the messages hidden in regular advertisements, and
thanks for
other
the bailout there. Right, and with the little
publications.
Yeah.
And
that's, I'm not sure how many people remember this Mercedes-Benz commercial. It really wasn't. It really didn't focus on the car as much as it focused on the message. And the 2014 Super Bowl commercial for Mercedes-Benz, the text that appeared on the screen was this, and I'm quoting here: "This year, we guarantee a thrilling fourth quarter." All right, end quote. Now, we know during the fourth quarter of the Super Bowl, remember the power outage? Well, it
was after halftime, and the score of the game, it was a blowout. The game was a loss by the time the fourth quarter came around, if I remember correctly.
All right, so obviously they weren't referring to a thrilling fourth quarter of the game. The omen here that this does pretend, I believe.
There's a few it could. We're going to go over.
Right. I believe that the fourth quarter is really all things. If you take all of the messages, the hidden, covert, and even some of the more overt messages by the power brokers, by the Illuminati, if you look at everything in total, and also you look at the importance of the blood moons. Now, the blood moons could be looked at either in one of two ways, as perhaps the front runner, just as in kind of a footnote of this. Regardless, what we're seeing here, I believe, is a plan, ultimately in the works, where, yes, there will be death. Yes, this is a strain of Ebola, just not the Ebola, the type that were the 90% fatality, blood bleeding out every orifice. Because don't forget, that's missing in the images, the pictures, the photographs. This is a type that's manufactured in a laboratory that's intentionally being disseminated here in the United States and throughout the West for the purpose of containment, vaccination, and also, and Joe and I talked about this at length, also a blow to the economy, the dollar. Because what has been the goal of these power elite? To take out the dollar. And you might say, well, wait a minute, there are easier ways to do this. Well, of course. But if you want to accomplish multiple objectives, and if you want to use magic, if you will, this is a way to do it. And you want to force vaccinations, create the level of fear where people will be begging for vaccinations because of the fear, or people will be begging for quarantines of cities, of towns, of areas, of countries, of whatever, states. What better way to do it? I'm not sure if that makes sense. I mean, certainly there's an evil genius behind it, and of course, roll out the vaccines and follow the money. Who's got the most to benefit? Certainly, they don't want to take out the population by death before. Just picture it this way: if you are a robber and you go into a house where you know that there's a safe and valuables in the house, you just don't know where they are, and you're in a hurry, you're on a schedule, not necessarily in a hurry, you're on a schedule. You want to walk out of that house with the valuables, the diamonds, the jewels, the gold, the silver, the money. You're not going to go in and shoot the people first. No. You're going to go in, scare the people in the house. Maybe you're wearing a mask or you've got an accomplice, whatever. And you're going to have them tell you where they keep the valuables. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah.
We'll give you whatever you want.
Or, you're extorting money from somebody via blackmail. You're not going to go kill them because they're going to cut off your source of income that you're generating, is what you're saying.
Precisely. So what better way to accomplish multiple aspects of this grand Illuminati plan, at least in this particular arena, than do just that? Then create the fear, create the panic, have a somewhat lethal, but not as lethal as the Ebola strain. Have something that you created and you hold the patent on. Dave Hodges has that information. Not only do you hold the patent on, you also have the vaccine for it, ostensibly, and you're able to control both sides of the equation. Meanwhile, you're terrifying the public, and you're also making or having the public, instead of forcing the public to comply to your wishes, the public essentially will at the end of ultimately will beg for the vaccine, will beg for containment and quarantine. It's a whole lot easier that way, and I liken it to the robbery basis. So it's if people are scared, okay, just take my stuff and just don't hurt me. That's the mentality I think we're dealing with, because they want, and I say they, I'm talking about the global elite power brokers, want everything we have, and then once they have everything we have, they're done with us. Then they can, finish us off. Does that make sense? I mean, it's just, I'm just throwing it out there, but certainly Steve is.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And certainly Steve has talked about that being an engineer occurrence. So we had talked to Nathan Leal today. Talked about the symbology. Talked about all of this, the significance of what's going on, and he's going to come on tomorrow, and we're going to get into this a little bit further, because he's having the same issues. When Joe, as you said earlier, when we talked to him, he's saying, look, the collateral effect of the fear, and the fact too that Obama, the entirety of the leadership in America, what have they done really to quarantine or to stove off anything at this point? Nothing. They haven't done anything. The question is why? Because it's not time yet. Because
they've done
stuff.
They've increased the likelihood of spreading the contagion. They've done something in a way or nothing in a way that will and is affecting not only the U.S. but potentially any travelers who come in contact with these people. They have not implemented basic safety protocols. We saw in the Dallas hospital that they did not have a system of protocols, and that was lies that were fed to the media, that were fed to the people about this person's quarantine and about the isolation and the kind of treatment he was receiving. That their either lack of planning or this was their intention, but they've made things so much worse by promoting fear, first of all. Secondly, by not stopping not issuing travel restrictions immediately. There's just a number of things. The hospital letting Duncan go 2 days before he was actually readmitted, left with 103-degree temperature, and stated to these people that he just came from West Africa. There's just so much with the Surgeon General issue. And I did do some research on the Surgeon General last night, and there has been no Surgeon General since 2012 of June, I believe, or 2013,
Correct.
one of the two.
It's been at least a year, if not two, so somewhere in that area. Yeah.
Yeah, and the Surgeon General is the government office that handles the. But since we have now, the Department of Health and Human Services, and everything lumped under the Department of Homeland Security, I guess the actual protocols and the way the government used to function is invalid, and they just go by what they want to do and how they want to do it. They don't want to appoint a new Attorney General until after the election. They don't want to, why haven't they appointed a new election? Right. And who was it? Ann Coulter made a joke, we'll lay out our plan for Ebola after the election. But that's how it is. These people in power, or the people behind them who hold the power, are doing this for a reason. Maybe we'll see it clearly, after something else happens, or whenever it's revealed to us. But the disorganization, the lack of leadership and guidance, the incompetence at appearance or face value is something to be very concerned about, because either they are definitely incompetent letting this go on, or their handlers have a much bigger plan in motion.
Okay, exactly. And thank you for saying that very well. Now, folks, I would like you to consider what I believe is taking place as well, in addition to what I just said. We, the American citizens, have become and are about to become even more so the newest petri dishes in the laboratory of the Marxist globalist scientific laboratories. Consider what I'm about to say here now. If you look at our ability, America's ability, now America is the country, right, where we're bringing in Ebola patients for treatment, correct? That's
certain patients were brought back to the United States for Ebola treatment. I think 3 of them all were subsequently cured of the disease.
All right, and we're going to talk about that in a moment, about how they were supposedly cured. But consider the following. Consider what I'm about to say. How many hospitals, ladies and gentlemen, do you think in this country that we have with the real isolation units, the biohazard level units that are necessary to treat Ebola? How many hospitals in America are there? I'll tell you how many. 4.
I thought it was 6.
No, there's only 4. Now, given that, of those 4 hospitals, what is the total number of beds that translates to? What is the total number of patients of the 4 hospitals combined that are able to be treated at any given time?
2.
11. So we have a grand total in America of 11 beds in 4 hospitals with real isolation units. Now, just keep that in the back of your mind.
Well, hopefully they'll have enough to deal with anybody who gets infected in the U.S., and hopefully that would be it.
Well, and this speaks to and I'll just call this the Ebola. Well, I'm gonna even do this one better. I'm gonna call this the Obamadra strain. It's really it's not really an act of terrorism or bioterrorism. It's a workplace virus. Again, a play on workplace violence. But anyway, also consider the objections by or what you're hearing on the news or in the news, reading about this, and of course this is really huge with respect to the Progressive Socialist Party. And we had reported on this where the Centers for Disease Control, the budget had been cut by the conservative Republicans, correct? That's what they're...
Obama also prevented millions of dollars from the CDC's preventative measures initiatives. I read, I believe that, I know he cut something, but and to do with the disease prevention, whether it was a rollout after prevention after the fact, or pre-pandemic prevention. I'm not sure, but
okay.
he cut millions of dollars also.
Well, let me give you the real facts. That's the narrative. I mean, I know that some of the conservative sites are saying that, but if you take a look at the budget for the Centers for Disease Control in 2000, which is the start of in 2000, 14 years ago, and versus the budget today, the CDC 2014 budget is nearly 200% bigger today than it was in 2000. Today, the CDC's budget is at $7 billion. In fact, Congress approved CDC funding increases in January, more than Obama had requested. Now consider all of this against the backdrop of manufactured crisis. Isn't this the MO, the modus operandi of the Marxist revolutionary Illuminati to which Obama belongs? Of course it is. We're looking at right now at large-scale global conflicts, wars, and domestic health crises, plural, because we also have the enterovirus or the entero D68 virus all across the United States now. These epidemics and pandemics, these are time-tested methods by which governments can expand their powers and suspend or cause you to forfeit your civil liberties. Is this what we're looking at? Is this what's at the end of the road? Of course it is. Is this the MO? Yes. What is the target? Aside from the human population, the target is the economy. They need, look, the Illuminati are operating on a schedule. So what they need to do is efficiently and expeditiously, with our consent, push us into a situation where we're begging for their involvement, government involvement, where we're willingly giving up civil liberties for the illusion of safety. This is a 9/11 template in 2014 pandemic terms. Doesn't that make sense? What happened after 9/11? The power elite got their various NDAA and the Patriot Act passed and other legislation that curtailed our civil liberties, and we, at least I at the time, applauded that. I backed it because I perceived, personally, we perceived there was a part of the population that was not plugged in, perceived a threat. So we welcomed in the Patriot Act because that's the answer to the terrorist threat. Aren't we seeing essentially a replay of 9/11? And don't forget the anthrax attacks after 9/11. Is it possible that they're using the same playbook, the same template as they did on 9/11 with this manufactured crisis? Perhaps with just enough fear and emotion? Wouldn't we be calling for, or not, when I say we, I'm not talking about you, the listening audience, but the uninformed, the average person on the street who watches 6 hours of television, who embraces, consumes the network news, listens to the Illuminati-controlled media, wouldn't they take the same path in a post-9/11 environment with this, given the possibility that this is, or the likelihood that this is a manufacturer, or given the illusion that this is a threat to their health, well-being? Of course they would. So just consider this small, relatively contained and controlled, at least so far in the state of Texas. Toss in maybe several hundred fatalities of this Ebola strain. Might that be sufficient to motivate nearly everyone to gratefully, graciously accept, no, even demand a free vaccine offered by the power brokers?
Where do I sign?
Right. Stand in line. So I'm sure most people won't stop to ask, hey, what's in that? Well, let me see that packet insert from that vaccine.
You have to get the shot.
Then they'll show you.
They have
right?
some pharmacies around here, at least, and I don't know if this is some kind of national flu initiative, if they have this going on at other places right now. They don't do this year-round here. It's very far and few between. But there was a flu shot table set up at a pharmacy I went to get some of that tape for my wound here that I got to treat. And there was a lady there that had the table set up to give away flu shots. Well, you cannot get an insert unless you take the shot. Or that's at least what I was told.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And that's what they're doing. And
young man, have you had your flu shot this year?
Yeah.
No, I've never had a flu shot. I haven't had the flu in years. And do you have an insert? You have to get the shot, sir.
It really is amazing. Now, speaking to what I said about containment, and this is consistent with Steve Quayle, what he's saying as well, Dave Hodges, and others, I want to thank Karen. Thank you, Karen, for sending this to me. I had not seen this. Joe, I'm not sure if you've seen this, but Governor Dan Malloy in Connecticut has declared a public health emergency that authorizes and I'm quoting this, isolation of any individual reasonably believed to have been exposed to the Ebola virus. So simply put, the state of public health emergency allows bureaucrats, the people in power, to detain and force vaccinate people without due process, despite not one single case being found in Connecticut.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if there's a major Ebola pandemic and this strain, the Ebola strain of Ebola in America, all of the liberties and the freedoms that we currently have will be gone. In a letter dated October 7th, 2014, to the Secretary of State, to the Clerk of the State House of Representatives, to the Clerk of the State Senate, the letter reads, it's referencing Declaration of Public Health Emergency, and the key sentence here is, I authorize the Commissioner of Public Health to order the isolation or quarantine under the conditions prescribed by the Commissioner of Public Health of any individual or group of individuals whom the Commissioner reasonably believes to have been exposed to, infected with, or otherwise at risk of passing the Ebola virus. It's pretty broad when you look at this. And to reinforce this, let me just repeat this. And again, thank you very much, Karen, for sending this in. Authorizing the isolation of any individual reasonably believed to have been exposed to the Ebola virus, and this public health emergency allows your bureaucrats to detain and force vaccinate people without any say whatsoever. What? None. There you have it. It's already started.
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. And there's a lot of other things going on today besides Ebola, but, we got to keep our eye on this closely. The Cleveland travel, the nurse who traveled to Cleveland, I don't know if there has been a public or admitted Ebola case there. I would think it would be much too soon, considering the incubation period and everything else, to have a person who's showing signs and symptoms and sicknesses of Ebola in Cleveland. But that was mentioned to us, that it's possible that somebody in Cleveland could be infected. Now, I don't put any stock into that until I would see some sort of confirmation. And if they're going to use this to condition us with another implementation of their agenda, then they're definitely going to use each and every Ebola case like a beheading from an ISIS member. They're going to do this to make sure they get the full maximum value from the media to the people by hyping it up, constantly talking about how this is spreading. And so I think every single case, or even as we've seen the people who've been sick, who it was feared they could have Ebola, those stories were on, the majority of news sites as they came out. We saw hundreds, if not thousands already in the U.S. of suspected cases where none of them ended up being true. The only cases that are in this country are connected to the man who came here from West Africa and died in a Texas hospital, and the only people who have received the disease from the contamination from him are the healthcare workers of that hospital.
Right.
So, the more you look at this, the amount, this is all I'll say about this, is that the amount of news attention this is receiving and the amount of danger some of the networks and hosts say we're in this country has been way overstated. You're, what does it say? You're 8 times more, like you said yesterday, you're 8 times more likely to get killed by a cop than a terrorist attack, or die in a car accident than a terrorist attack. And you said, well, sometimes the terrorist attacks, it could be one of those things where it ends up being the statistic, and you become the statistic, and then that makes everything else irrelevant. But I don't think that's going to be the case here. I don't think we're going to see a mass breakout of this Ebola virus in America, and if we do, it would be another mutated strain, which would have to be much easier to others, like an airborne strain, or infecting the food or water supply. It would have to be done in a way that would be a weaponized attack, would be the proper term, I guess.
Well, yes. And let's look back in history. If we can study American history for a moment, and I think I mentioned this last
Which side? The real history, or
the real history now. If you look at Woodrow Wilson, for example, and the influenza pandemic of 1917, 1918, look at Wilson's actions, and Wilson used the pretext of the World War I, for example, and the global pandemic to declare a public emergency, at which time the liberties of ordinary citizens of America were suspended in the name of this broadly and ill-defined public good, which is what we're seeing today. We know that the Wilson administration was a watershed for, during that time, the federal government vastly expanded both its scope and powers in ways that were never intended by our founding fathers. It was really truly the start during his administration of this absolute monster that we see today. And it's my belief, if looking back at the Woodrow Wilson administration, that Wilson was perhaps America's first Marxist president, and Obama is following his game plan. I want to mention this as well. It's curious, if not eerily coincidental, perhaps, that the FEMA has been preparing for the appearance of a pandemic of a deadly disease in the near future all along. Well, we look at part of the FEMA pandemic exercise series. This was first brought to the forefront in 2013. The Pandemic Accord 2013-2014 Pandemic Influenza Continuity Exercise Strategy. You can find this at sifma.org website. This mandate states that the federal executive boards in New York and northern New Jersey, in partnership with FEMA Region 2, the Department of Health and Human Services Region 2, New York City Department of Health, Mental Hygiene, Securities, Industry, and Financial Markets Association, that's SIFMA, and the Clearinghouse Association. The latter organization is all about the markets, all about money, all about the economy. They're sponsoring a 2-year series of pandemic continuity exercise, a tabletop exercise, 2013, a full-scale exercise in 2014, to increase readiness for a pandemic event. So we're already seeing, or we have seen, or this is proof of, FEMA's preparation, just like we saw in 9/11. The fictional pandemic is designed, it was designed, at least in the exercises, as a virus, mostly on the influenza side, spreading from person to person worldwide. They used the model, interestingly enough, of the 1918 Spanish flu and worked the damage done, projected the damage done to the U.S. population as well as to the U.S. economy. The stated objective of the exercise was to mitigate vulnerabilities during a pandemic influenza outbreak. Really. Once more, we have evidence of a FEMA disaster drill working a crisis, a fictional crisis. No matter what you think of Ebola, if you're listening to this for the show for the first time or second time or 100th time, doesn't matter. Whatever you think of the Ebola situation or the Ebola strain, whether it's nefarious in nature or just you want to describe it to gross incompetence, we can all agree, and I think we can all agree, that there are numerous aspects of this entire situation that just don't simply add up. They don't add up. So the behavior of the CDC, the behavior of the NIH, the behavior of our elected leaders has thus far exuded anything but preparedness. If you throw in our sordid history with national emergency exercises, well, this ongoing in 2013 starting point in this ongoing FEMA exercise, pandemic exercise, you just can't help but question this. You can't help but raise red flags all over the place if you're paying attention to the templates used by the powers behind the powers, the Illuminati.
And you just said something that gave me an idea. You know, the lack of their preparedness, the lack of the leadership is something that is discussed in many of the white papers and publications pertaining to the universal health system run by the United Nations and World Health Organization, implementing a pre-market or a device, issuing a technological device that would be able to monitor patients' health in real time, as well as incorporate their identity and economic information into the chips. They don't come out and say they're chips. They call them devices, tools, technologies. But this is what they are, could be also, you know, letting this get a little bit out of hand, showing their incompetence, saying, well, this can't happen if everything's computerized. Because we'll have, you know, everybody will be hooked up to a machine or their device will be hooked up to machines or places that people can read, or, you know, you can get alerts if there is something off about your vitals or your what's in your blood. They'll know if you have some kind of disease or infection before you would even know by being able to study your information, what is in your blood, you know, your heart rate. Like I said, the device will be able to give them real live time info on your vitals, on a number of different medical information and location functions. And, you know, this could be you know, enough frustration due to the lack of travel restrictions and other actions taken by the administration could lead to people saying that's not a bad idea to have something like that. We don't have to rely on you guys if we had that.
Right. And doesn't that fit what I talked about earlier in the program? Isn't this what ultimately the ultimate objective here would be? It's a lot easier, and if people in law enforcement know, and people in positions of authority, okay, they know it's much easier to have someone comply with your orders if they believe that compliance will save them from whatever ills might face them. So they're looking at programming us to comply, and I understand how nefarious that sounds, because when you watch network television, even if you watch The Five, for example, on Fox News, or you watch Glenn Beck or whoever it might be, the conservative side, the side that the anti-Marxist side that we're led to believe, that we're programmed to believe, well, it's anything but that this is what I believe. It's contrary to it's really, it's as if we're watching one thing while being programmed for another. I'm not sure if I made that clear, but you think you're watching, for example, a conservative program. Well, the veneer certainly appears conservative, but once you get past that veil or veneer of conservatism or truth, what they consider to be truth, I think that we're being programmed. And this happened during, in fact, Paul McGuire talked about this in his book, The Prophecy of the Future of America, where they were talking, I think Fox News was talking about expanding military operations in Iraq. And I think it was Megyn Kelly, and I shouldn't be quoted on this, but she had claimed to be kind of a seen the light, so to speak. Okay. No, I'm sorry, this is about Syria. I've seen the light, and I can see that invading Syria would not be a good idea. But if you watched the segment, what she did was she brought in people who were in favor of invading Syria, the United States, okay? So while it was allegedly, the program was allegedly against any type of an invasion, it wasn't that at all. It was programming us to accept the invasion. Now, did whoever and I use Megyn Kelly as the person. I'm not sure who it was. It was one of the Babettes, okay, on the news. But I guess what I'm saying is, it's contrary. The message being programmed, the people who are being programmed, we're not. It's almost as if we don't know we're being programmed, or we're being told no, this is bad, but yet through that thin veneer, we're being told no, we shouldn't do this. Yet the meat and substance of the broadcast does nothing but promote what they're saying not to do. So it's a method of programming, I believe. And I think that we have to watch for this in all of the crises, multiple crises, ostensible crises. You understand? I'm not sure if I made sense, but I think perhaps I did.
Yeah.
It's kind of playing good cop, bad cop, where you're the good cop and everyone else is the bad cop, and the bad cop wins. At least wins the day with the arguments. So you're left, after watching these segments, you're left with thinking, okay, it is a good idea, for example, to attack, invade, and destabilize Syria.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
On Rachel Maddow last night, I only watched about 10 minutes of this, but she was talking about a poll that they did that stated the American people feel that Obama waited too long to take action or put boots on the ground against ISIS, and is waiting too long to do that. They're calling for boots on the ground in Iraq and Syria to fight ISIS. Now, we talked about this, this is what they wanted a year ago. They were going to take out Assad, regime change in Syria. The public sentiment was against it, and they backed off, even though they said or tried to perpetrate the lie that Syria crossed the red line, which was.
I want to get into ISIS after the break, but I want to address an email really quick here because apparently I wasn't clear.
Who are you going to address it to?
Chris.
It's good.
No, I know. I see. I'm giving you some little latitude here because you're among the walking injured, so walking wounded, so to speak. But okay, wait till you heal up.
I'm fine. I'm here. I'm recovered.
Wait till you heal up. But Chris writes this. Hi, Doug and Joe. Look, I understand what you're saying for the most part. Are you saying we should not prepare? They can still use fear to lock down a city, correct, or roadblocks, checkpoints to force vaccinations, correct? Are you sounding the all clear, or just exposing the overhype to promote fear? Fear can be more dangerous than the virus. So this is from Chris. Chris, yes. What we're saying is this.
Okay. Yeah, the prepare thing. Regardless of Ebola, we need to be spiritually and prepared and have spiritual preparedness practices in our everyday walk with the Lord, regardless if it is peaceful on the earth, complete peace across the whole earth, or it's chaos. That's the first thing we need to do no matter what's going on in the world. So preparedness beyond that. You go ahead.
Okay. Now, since you said spiritual preparedness, I agree. Practical preparedness, yes, absolutely. We need to prepare. We need to protect ourselves from this virus, this Ebola-like mutated version of Ebola, whatever this might be, the Abominable strain, is in fact dangerous. So indeed, we need to prepare and get out of the way, stay out of the way, be smart. Yes, we need to prepare. This is not something to fool around with. On the other hand, what we're saying, at least what I'm saying, is we are seeing the use and this exquisitely nefarious and very well defined, in my view anyway, very well crafted use of fear to exponentially exploit the dangers. So think of it this way: if, for example, you're in Cleveland, Ohio, and you flew, I don't know, you flew at the same day that flight 1143 flew, and you were in the airport or something. You just happen to be in close proximity, but we're not on flight 1143, and you went through Cleveland Hopkins Airport the same day or whatever, and all of a sudden you begin to get the flu. Now I'm saying it's the flu, knowing, I'll just say it's the flu, but what are you going to be thinking? Oh my gosh, I'm developing Ebola symptoms, because of the symptoms of influenza and Ebola, at least initially, are consistent with each other. What I guess what I am saying is, while you need to prepare absolutely, positively, 100% against whatever this mutated form of Ebola is, you also have to have in the back of your mind that the powers that be are exploiting this in order to overwhelm the system. And yes, the ultimate goal here, I believe, if not to test the system, is to overwhelm the system. What I'm saying. Imagine 100 people, or 10 people even, from different areas of a city or different cities or whatever, going to various hospitals, thinking that they perhaps have been infected with Ebola. Can the medical community handle that? If we look at the Cloward-Piven strategy, apply it to this, of course, that would overwhelm the medical system. Elective surgeries would be postponed, obviously, and in fact are being postponed in some hospitals. You would have the need to bring in decontamination crews, regardless. I mean, so just think of the incremental steps, eventually exploited situation that this could start. I just want to be clear. I don't want to minimize absolutely not minimize the danger, but also call attention to the deliberate exploitation of, kind of like Rahm Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. Well, think of it that way, along with the Cloward-Piven. So you've got a number of factors at work. So yes, prepare, always prepare, and definitely, Joe, spiritually prepare, practically prepare, and don't be, I like to say, don't be stupid. I say that to me especially, let's not be stupid about this. Don't put yourself in harm's way, yet just make sure you're prepared for any eventuality or any possibility. I shouldn't say eventuality, but know in the background the absolute intent, I believe, of the power brokers here is to exploit that panic, that fear in you. So instead of having to fight you to give you the vaccine, instead of having to fight you to put martial law into place,
instead of having to fight you to bring in their peace and safety, you'll be asking for it.
Yeah. All right. I hope, Chris, that answers your question. And if I sounded a little bit disjointed, again, it's because of too many knocks on the head from hitting the desk from sleep deprivation, both Joe and I. Folks, you're listening to a very special broadcast of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report on this Thursday, October 16, 2014. We're at the top of the hour. I want to thank you for joining us, and thank you for staying with us during that last hour. We will be wanting to know what you think, taking your phone calls here shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, hour number 2 of this Thursday edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. We are at 12 minutes after the hour. Before we get into the news and the calls, I want to talk to you about the Prophecy Forum's upcoming conference in Dublin, Ohio, or Columbus, Ohio. We will be in attendance there. It is from November 14th through the 15th, and go to our website, hagmanandhagmann.com. On the left-hand side, there's a big black and red graphic that you can click on to go. We'll take you to the link. It's theprophecyforum.com. tickets are available right now, and they are inexpensive. There is going to be a number of great speakers there. Russ Dizdar, Bill Koenig will be there speaking. Bill Salas, Doug Woodward, Greg Evenson, Dave Daubenmeier, and a few others that you're not going to want to miss if you have the opportunity to be there.
Yeah, and by the way, if you click on the link on our website, enter the coupon code, which is on HagmannandHagmann.com on the graphic there, Watchman 5, I believe it is. Use that. That does two things. That tells them that you registered through us or because of the broadcast, and that gives you, I think, $5 off or some money off of the actual price of the tickets. So if you do it that way, that's definitely the way to go, and that's through HagmannandHagmann.com. Use the coupon code there, and please, Columbus Columbus, Ohio, is really within a day's drive of a lot of the population in America. So if you can make it, we'd love to see you there. We'd love to meet you in person. And I just what
was that? Columbus is what? It's close to a what drive?
Well, Dave Daubenmeier and I were talking, and there was somewhere where we saw where Columbus is, for 2/3 of the population. Columbus, Ohio, is just a mere day's drive away for 2/3 of the population. So, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's an easy reach for at least 2/3 of the population. So, heck, we're driving, and I just can't wait. The fellowship aspect. See, you can get a live streaming or streaming after the fact, or the DVDs. The fellowship that we experienced at Bozeman was just tremendous with the conference there. Yes, life-altering, yes. So we'd love to meet you there, and we'd love to talk to you and see who you are and meet you face-to-face and shake your hand, give you a hug or whatever, because it's you're extended family. You're our family. And did I just go deaf? Did I just get cut off here?
Mm-mm. No, I hear you.
Okay. All right, because the lights here just kind of blinked off, and now I don't have it. Okay, there we go. Interesting. Talking about Russ Dizdar, too, is going to just him alone presenting his information about the satanic aspects of what's going on today. Man, that's worth it alone. Of course, Dave Daubenmeier. Oh man, what a firecracker! Greg Evenson. Oh yeah. Just go there. I would attend for any one of these people. So having them all there, that's going to be a fantastic, just a fantastic show.
Don't stay away because you think, the Hagmanns are going to be there speaking. I don't want to see that. There'll be speakers going on in 2 different theaters at any given time, so you can avoid us at all costs if that was a concern.
Yeah, actually, Dave Daubenmeier was talking about putting crime scene tape around us. No, I'm kidding, but seriously, remember the Unknown comic, the paper bag over the head? But seriously, it's just going to be a fantastic presentation, a fantastic weekend of fellowship, of learning, and I just can't say enough good about Russ and about Greg and the others.
And the few conferences we've went to, every time that we have went there and the conference went off as planned, we have had a great time. We had met so many more people than we listeners face to face than we did before we attended these conferences. It just is a great spiritual experience, both for you and your walk with the Holy Spirit and the Lord, and also for the fellowship aspect, for the just being able to put a face with a name, even though you might know what we look like or Greg Evenson looks like, and listening to them talk. One thing I tell people is Greg's been on our show many times, but I've never heard him give a more powerful speech than when at the conference, and that's because many are gathered there for the Spirit of the Lord, and I think that even more moves the Holy Spirit to guide their their speeches and their words that they say. Not that they're not capable of delivering powerful messages every time they come on the radio, but I've never heard, Greg Evenson give a more powerful message, nor Russ. And they've been guests on the show multiple times. So,
yeah, I did see something special there.
Pastor Langford too.
Yep. Oh man, that was just such a powerful. Pastor Langford did a powerful Sunday morning service, and I do believe there will be a Sunday morning service as well. Folks, you'll have to go to the website for an updated itinerary, but it's going to be fabulous. So we're looking for you all there. And look, I know, it's travel time. It's a day off of work, perhaps, or 2 days. There's some expense involved, but if you can do it, it's worth it. It really is. If you can do it, and we're doing it, and believe me, we're doing it at our own expense. Okay, we don't. That's the only reason I say that is because people have a tendency to think, well, gee, they'll get comped this and that. Well, no, we're not asking for that. Not in any way, shape, or form. So we don't do it for that reason, or even if we did, we wouldn't do it for that reason. You do it for the perks?
Yeah, I'm still waiting, but
you're still waiting. Yeah. Well, the conference in Orlando, I just want to say this, and then we'll go on. I had such a great time, met so many great people, and but that was a real adventure. Just imagine the movie Vacation, the Chevy Chase movies Vacation movie. What was it? Yeah, that was Vacation.
Vegas
with Chevy
Vacation,
Chase.
Christmas Vacation,
European
Vacation. Christmas Vacation was the second one, I think. European Vacation, but the first one was Vacation to Wally World.
That was it, and that's kind of the way we had. I mean, it was our behind the scenes. It was like a Chevy Chase Vacation movie. But anyway, I should stop there before I get myself in more trouble. A little humor now and then never hurts. By the way, I got an email concerning this vaccine, the weaponizing of vaccine.
Now, I wanted to ask you, the vaccine, I haven't heard anything. Last time I knew that there was no vaccines for Ebola available. So what vaccine are we talking about?
Well, a listener...
something that will be released that's in development, or...
Okay, a listener had, and Pam, this is for you. Thanks for sending the email. She says this: Hi, Doug and Joe. I just received this from a friend. Have you seen this? And if so, is it true or not? And it's a link to a website. I'm not going to give the website out only because we haven't vetted it, but Ebola vaccine is the title. Ebola vaccine, do not take it at any cost. Okay. The subtitle or the Ebola vaccine weaponized, do not take it under any circumstance. Let me be correct in this. In the article, it says, look up, wake up, the Ebola outbreak is a hoax designed to scare us into accepting the mandatory Ebola vaccine patented by the CDC, the NIH, and by eugenicist Bill Gates. Okay. This has a link to Dave Hodges' article in there that from the 17th of September, talking about the CDC, NIH, and Bill Gates, who owns the patents on existing Ebola and related vaccines. Mandatory vaccines are near. While I agree with Dave Hodges, and we agree with Dave Hodges based on the research that he conducted, is it true? Well, Dave Hodges' research is true. The conclusions here are what are speculative. In other words, we're saying that by the looks of everything, it looks like this would give way to forced vaccinations, and we had just gone over that in the entire first hour. So, is this a possibility? Certainly is. I mean, I think it is. Again, wouldn't it be great to have people begging for a vaccine? Think of it this way: you own both sides of the war, and isn't this the template, the game book of the entire Illuminati, the power elite. They own both sides of a conflict. They're owning both sides of this Ebola situation. They own the patent on the virus, and they own the patent on the vaccine. So they profit regardless. Now, is it weaponized, or does it have some sort of gunk in there? I don't know. Does anyone know? Is there any type of verifiable, authenticated information to, without a shadow of a doubt, say if you take this, that you're going to, develop some sort of, or die from it, or develop some sort of illness from it? Well, I can't speak to that, but certainly we can speak to the vaccines of the past that have been used, have been tainted, have been manipulated. So is it out of the box thinking? I don't think so. I mean, I think it's very much a possibility. Is it eugenics? Yeah, I believe it is eugenics. Bill Gates makes no bones about his eugenics beliefs. Bill Gates, the foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, all of these people make no bones about their wanting to depopulate the earth. Having said all
out of
that,
love for humanity. Let's be
right.
clear here. To better the world, to better the planet, which they have declared is Mother Earth. And also, this isn't something I was going to get into today, but let me find my papers here. They have, the world leaders, the United Nations, have made a declaration. It is the Universal Declaration of Mother Earth, granting the Earth rights, like us people have, or are supposed to have rights. They have created a harmony with nature section on their website, on the UN's website, and they list a number of different things to be able to integrate this and become part of the harmony with nature, because those who are not in harmony with nature are out of or opposing the New World Order, or they word it much differently. But let me find these papers here. If I brought them, I have the PDFs on the computer. But what they get into, I think this is them. What they get into here is the, and here, let me read this from the document. The World People's Conference on Climate Change and the Rights of Mother Earth, Universal Declarations of the Rights of Mother Earth, we the peoples of the nations of Earth, considering that we are all part of Mother Earth, an invisible living community of interrelated and interdependent beings with a common destiny, gratefully acknowledge that Mother Earth is a source of life, nourishment, and learning, and to provide everything else we need to live as well. Recognizing that the capitalist system and all forms of exploited, abused, and contaminated systems have caused great destruction, degradation, and disruption of Mother Earth, putting life as we know it today at risk through the phenomena such as climate change. So somehow the capitalist economy has put Mother Earth as well as is responsible for climate change. Anyway,
well, I wouldn't say the capitalist economy.
That's what they say.
Okay, thank you.
It goes on to say that it is possible to recognize the rights not only of human beings without causing an imbalance. We need to guarantee the rights of Mother Earth and all beings in her that are existing practices and laws that do so, conscious of the urgency of taking decisive collective action to transform structures and systems that cause climate change and other threats to Mother Earth. It goes on to say this. Article 1, Mother Earth is a living being. 2, Mother Earth is a unique, invisible, self-regulating community of interrelated beings that sustains and contains reproductive beings. 3, each being is defined by its relationship as being an integral part of Mother Earth. 4, the inherent rights of Mother Earth are inalienable in what they arise from the same source of existence. Mother Earth and all beings are entitled to all the inherent rights recognized in this declaration. And it goes on to say, no matter what organic or species or origin something is, none of them have the ability to violate these. They talk about setting up a international criminal court for those who infringe on the rights of Mother Earth. And they say that some of the rights of Mother Earth are to exist, to be respected, to be free from human disruptions, clean air, clean water, toxic-free, the right of full prompt restoration, the violation of the rights recognized in this declaration caused by human activities, each being the right to a place and to play a role in Mother Earth and her harmonious functioning. And anyways, it goes on to talk about we had to guarantee damages by human violations that violate the inherent rights of Mother Earth and restore the integrity of Mother Earth. Also, we need to establish restrictive measures to prevent human activities from creating any kind of destruction of ecosystems or ecological cycles. We need to promote economic systems that are in harmony with Mother Earth in accordance with the rights recognized in this declaration. I mean, so they're saying we have to base our economy and our monetary policy systems on Mother Earth's rights. This is worshiping the creation more than the creator. It's as clear as day. The Bible talks about it. Setting up a system, and one of the prophecy in the news magazines, I think from July, the cover is Geo worship on the rise. This is earth worship. They go on to say that they're going to need, in order to achieve a just balance among economic, social, and environmental needs present and future generations, we will promote harmony with nature. They go on to say that the United Nations will enforce this, and humankind must redefine its relationship with Mother Earth to be able to engage in the global transformation of attitude and practice. Mother Earth, since ancient times, takes precedence over any other system that is invisible and endless in continuum, which scientists have named Earth System Science. And then they say that this Earth System Science paved the way for what is now called Earth System governance. And that entails Earth-based law and Earth-based economics. Now, I want to stress, and I'm just scratching the surface here of this document and this UN resolution. It is UN resolution, for those who want to look it up. It's from August 18th, the 69 session, resolution A/69/150. It's called Harmony with Nature.
Yeah, or you can just search for that title. Yeah, okay.
They go on to say the latest group met and created or adopted a declaration towards a new world for living well, which contains a significant number of explicit references that call for living well in harmony with nature, rights of nature, and respect for Mother Earth. If we neglect her, we will be denied the protection she offers. Humankind must redefine its relationship. It goes on to say that through these earth-based systems, that they will, if without our compliance in this area, that Mother Earth will continue to unleash furious storms, climate change, polar bears in Alaska running wild. I don't know what they're saying, but what they want is they say this can only be done in a community setting. It cannot be a system or a function that only certain people adhere to. It has to be a community. The whole community has to be a part of this. And you can commit crimes against nature, as they say. They also say this: living well advocates the dissolution of dualism between society and nature. Nature becomes part and parcel to the social world, and vice versa. Such communities could extend to non-human life forms, consistent with, for example, biocentric environmental perspectives and also indigenous positions that recognize non-humans animals, plants, or ecosystems as equal to humans and all should have rights. This polis is expanded and the concept of citizenship is widened to include nature.
Well, let me just say this, because I do believe that what we're talking about when you're talking about earth worship, Gaia worship.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of evil worship here.
Well, yeah, and here's where this kind of all comes together. It's all about depopulation. It's all about eugenics. But think about this, okay? I think the first Earth Day falls on my birthday. April 22nd, 1970. It was proclaimed with the blessing of actually Richard Nixon when he was president, along with other world leaders. And in 1990, George H.W. Bush signed an Earth Day proclamation. 1991, Oregon Republican-controlled legislature passed a resolution dedicating April 22nd as an annual Earth Day observance. And we can go on, but what's so significant about April 22nd? April 22nd, 1970, the first Earth Day, was the 100th anniversary of Lenin's birth. Doesn't this, and I'm looking at the symbology here, doesn't this signal, isn't this some sort of a nod and a wink to other like-minded Marxists? Okay.
This is one of those messages that's sent from organization to organization, country to country, person to person, that there is something that we have reached a certain time period, a certain shift, a new beginning, if you will. And one more quote from this Harmony with Nature. They say, a professor here has stated that we cannot resolve the problems of the 21st century with institutions that function with rules that essentially stem from the 19th century. Therefore, it has become imperative to explore, both scientifically and politically, new types of multilateralism. In doing so, a reform of the intergovernmental system will not be the only level of societal change, nor the only type of action that is needed towards sustainability. Changes of behavior include all individual citizens and societies, new engagement of civil society organizations, and reorientation of the private sector towards sustainable economies are all crucial to achieve progress. Yet in order for local and national action to be effective, the global institution framework must be supportive and well-designed. And it goes on from there to get into the communities. We all have a shared responsibility, and that they go on to say that these adopting ordinances specifically recognized as an enforceable right of nature, communities and ecosystems exist and flourish, and that they will, as I said, set up an international judicial system to be able to rectify any problems, whether caused by man or whatever, happened to Mother Earth. They should have it says nature should have a standing court of law. That it is legal rights must be enforceable on its behalf as the injured entity. It goes on to say that in this case, actions by the public on behalf of the natural world are essential to a rights-based Earth law system, and that the United Nations would be the enforcement arm of this of these laws, these new international criminal courts against crimes against our great universal goddess of Mother Earth. I mean, this stuff's insane.
That's right.
And this is one resolution, one area of focus. They have so many. The sustainable, Agenda 21. They have the vaccination programs. They have the women's right programs. They're Harmony with Nature now. They have so many ideas and plans, and maybe half of the stuff is put out there just to fill paper and space. I mean, I don't get it. They are in direct, spitting in the face of the Lord directly by saying the Lord's creation is more important than the Lord. And not only that, the creation has created itself, and there is no Lord above it.
And the relevance here to all of this is this goes to eugenics, this goes to Darwinism, this goes to the actual core beliefs of the Christian religion, of Christians. This is anti-Christian, antithetical to Christian beliefs. This is an assault on us. When did this become popular? Well, once God was no longer allowed in our schools. That spiritual vacuum that was created was filled by this New Age baloney, this Gaia worship, and the very, in some cases, the very people who yell about this alleged, and well, actually not alleged, but this myth of separation of church and state when it comes to Christianity are the very ones who want this Gaia religion in the schools so that the kids can be indoctrinated at an early age, and we're seeing that. And Earth Day, for example, what's a symbol of Earth Day, which is kind of the holiday for this Earth worship? Well, it's a circle with a broken cross, the bars pointing downward. It's a New Age symbol, meaning the rejection of Christianity.
I thought it just was the picture of the Earth.
No, actually, they had modified this. It's actually it's also called the Green Cross. And if you go back in time, just not too long, but just a little bit ago, Mikhail Gorbachev became the international Green Cross leader to protect the environment. Yeah, and
these people are so sick in their head.
Really? But where's Mikhail Gorbachev, for example? He's in the U.S. It's amazing. The Soviet Union is gone. East Europe is gone. Communist governments, gone are the days when the communist governments paraded their missiles down the roads and such. Now, instead, we've got this Earth Day and this Earth worship. It's interesting. If you go back in time, the Red Square protests against Gorbachev, 1990, Perestroika, Glasnost. Did all of this grant him the ability to create his Gorbachev Foundation with the California Secretary of State in April of 1991? Even before the August 1991 breakdown and implementation of a kinder and gentler Soviet Union? Think about that. Gorbachev actually created his own corporation with the Gorbachev Foundation with the California Secretary of State in April 1991. Think about the timing of that. Christopher Ruddy addresses a lot of this in previous writings. You have to go to the Tribune Review back in the 90s, I believe, talking about the role of Gorbachev, what you read, the United Nations, how all of this is tied together, and the Communist Party money to private accounts, to private initiatives, to Earth worship. I mean, what we're seeing here is this move toward this one world order. It's just amazing how all of this connects when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture. You might say, well, again, what does Earth worship have to do with anything we're talking about contemporaneously? Well, it has a lot to do, because this is a groundwork for this false religion, among other aspects, and it's also anti-Christian. It's against Christianity, and the methods which are being implemented include, but are not limited to, replacing Earth worship with God worship in our schools. It is the children that are being taught this stuff. So, there's a woman by the name of Barbara Marx Hubbard. I don't know how many people have heard of her, blatant New Ager. At the Gorbachev Foundation meeting in the fall of 1995, now this is 4 years after the Gorbachev Foundation was started, said that 1/4 of mankind must be eliminated. By the way, Hubbard.
1/4.
1/4, right? So
well,
she's not as
she's a little bit more generous to humanity than
right.
That's only what 1.5, 2 billion people, or around there.
But just to connect the dots, the Gorbachev Foundation obtains funding from different companies like the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the Mellon Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Pew Family Trust. All of this, you got to follow the money. The Gorbachev Foundation also sponsors various world forums, and you're looking at a combination of these New Age earth worship people, communists, and you want to know who attend some of these? Well, look at Ted Turner, Carl Sagan when he was alive, George Herbert Walker Bush when it did just a few short years ago, Bill Gates. Gee, that's a surprise. And when he was alive, Nelson Mandela was part of this. Gorbachev is still in the background. He wants global governance with a synthesis of New Age Eastern religion, and look who's behind him. All of these people are behind him and in front of him and beside him to make this happen. So you even have some of the United States senators, standing arm in arm with these New Agers, former senators, even Phil Gramm, for example, and many others. So is this relevant? Absolutely, it's relevant. Absolutely. We have to look at this and say, what's going on and consider all of this as part of the larger agenda. I mean, everything is not a conspiracy, but certainly this is.
661-244-9839. We're going to go to the phones now. We're going to take calls from you guys. And we're going to go to our international line first. Country code 144 or 14. You're up first. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can.
Hi, this is Cameron from London. Hello, guys.
Hi, Cameron. You were the caller who so eloquently explained the symbolism on the Katy Perry cover of the Bazaar magazine, correct?
Correct, yes. How are you guys, by the way?
Very well, and it's good to hear you.
Same here. I've sent information over, so I don't know whether you still have my contact or not.
Yes.
I'm going to send it.
You can resend it, but I did get that, yeah.
Okay, right. Now, do you want to decode the symbolism behind the Universal Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth or not?
Absolutely.
If you're ready, we're ready.
Okay. I'll give you the hint, and then, Joe, you can start sort of decoding it on my behalf. If we take the title, the Universal Declaration of Rights of Mother Earth, if we remove the word mother and put earth, and then add two words, and its inhabitants, right? So if you read it again, the Universal Declaration of the Rights of Earth and its inhabitants. Now,
okay.
You tell me, who are the Earth inhabitants?
Well, the inhabitants, they say that it is all life forms, sources. Since Mother Earth is a source of all life, it recognizes that it's a living community, plants, ecosystems, people, and reading between the lines, what's on Earth right now are both, we have the evil influences and we have the holy messengers of the Lord, but those are not being included.
Yeah, so if we just say that somehow they discovered giants, okay?
And when they will.
And later on they discovered the subterraneans and the grays, and later on the spirits. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So if we then go into number 5, Mother Earth and all beings are entitled to all the inherited rights recognized in this declaration without distinction of any kind, such as may be made between organic or inorganic beings, species, origins, use, or use to human beings, or any other status.
Right, or other status, yeah.
So what does it mean?
Well, it says that all the inhabitants of Earth have the rights outlined in this declaration, no matter who they are, what they are,
giants. Yes.
if they're humans or of other origin. Yeah.
Yes. So if the giants come out, are we, according to the declaration, are we allowed to say that we're going to exterminate them?
Well, no. I don't even think this allows us to pick a flower out of the ground.
Right, but if we ignore the worshipping part and work on the practicalities, ignore the religious part and work on day-to-day interaction. We are now having United Nations, and they're trying now to replace it with United Earth. Yeah. Who would be the main representative in United Earth? Will it be just humans, or will they have also giants who are represented, or will they also have subterranean?
Number 6 says just as human. Number 6 says just as human beings have human rights, all other beings also have rights which are specific to their species.
Yeah. So what it means is everyone in the United, Earth Council, will have to be represented equally, and therefore will have the same rights. And we cannot go and say, oh, these are the giants God has told us in the Bible to start eliminating them because they are an abhorrent and abomination. Can we do that if we sign up to this?
No.
Right, no. If there are subterraneans, and these subterraneans start coming up, can we regard them as enemies?
No. They go on to say that they have a role and function inside the communities that they exist in, and any conflict that arises between these beings, their rights must be resolved in a way that maintains integrity and balance of the health of Mother Earth. Right.
And if we have magic and the circles and all that stuff, and these magic circles call upon spirits, which are earth spirits, can we declare them as evil and need to be eliminated?
No, because each being is designated as an integral part of Mother Earth and its system of self-existence. So, no.
Right. So now we've taken genetic engineering, and we have human 2.0. Can we declare them as abominations?
Well, one thing it says in here is that the right not to have its genetic structure disrupted or modified, and then it goes to say, in a manner that threatens the integrity or healthy functioning of it. So, no. I guess no would be the answer.
So any cybernetics, any genetic engineering, any dealing with the other kind, any dealing with the species which are not at the moment declared, then by definition, once we sign up to this, we are basically giving them the ability to negotiate with us and have the same space, and we are not able then to attach any kind of evil or malice towards them, and we have to deal with them the same way as you have to deal with homosexuals and various other things where you're not able to mention them. So if you start then saying that some spirits are evil, they can come in court, let's call it Earth Court, and declare that you are in violation of this covenant, if you want to call it. Would that be right?
Yeah.
Right.
Very much.
So I would ask you to concentrate more on the practical rather than the religious, because the religious part is what they're trying to push forward to confuse you, because they are saying, oh, these Christians and these religious people, they are of the old type, and we are now moving forward, and we are ignoring them. And as soon as you say anything, they block you out as a religious fanatic. If you go on more a practical side, which is what they don't want you to discuss, this what comes out of it. They are basically disabling you from performing any action against these inhabitants which will come out. What do you think of that?
Yeah, what do you think of that, Joe?
Well, I think that they're trying to implement a system of the end times, an abomination to the Lord, that will assist the ones coming up from under the earth and upon the earth that are not of the Lord to accomplish the mission that is of Satan.
But I don't think we can totally abandon the religious aspect of it. I see what you're saying. However, they're going to do that anyway. They're going to marginalize the Christian, right, the religious aspect of it.
Yes, but what I'm saying is, when thinking about what they are trying to push, they've got already the religious establishment worrying about the religious part. This one is more of a law part. This is to do with the functioning of the government part, not religious.
Correct.
Part. The religious comes as part of it, but that is to be done by the false prophet, not them. They are more concentrating on giving legal identity, because in order to have any in order to have to be presented to a court, one of the main things to be presented to a court is you must have legal identity, which is a technical term. Now, these in this document here, they are trying to give legal identity to other beings in order for them to be represented, because without legal identity, they have no authority to come and be represented. Does that make sense? That aspect of legal identity.
Yes.
Right. Now, because of that, now I want you to think of it as the title as follows: the Universal Declaration of the Right of Mother Mars or any planet. Okay? Now think of the second part, which the first part says Mother Earth is a living being. Okay, so we change it to Mars. Mother Mars is a living being. Second one is Mother Mars is a unique, individual, self-regulating community of interrelated beings, as sustained, contains, and reproduces all beings within it. So now we're coming to planetary issues. And now if we're saying that this is to do the same way that we apply to Earth, we apply to Mars, what it means is human beings will be not regarded as unique individual or part of the self-regulating community within Mars. So therefore, human beings cannot travel to Mars without being regarded as not an integral part of it. Which means whatever they've established on Mars, they can regard it as their own colony. And if you want to go to Mars for whatever reason, and you are able to, by this declaration, you are forbidden, because now you're an alien and do not have a legal identity on Mars. Does that make sense? Shall I repeat?
I'm with you.
No, yeah.
No, I'm with you.
Right. So we know that they are establishing bases on planets and moons. And what they're trying to do is, once the technology is made available to travel to these things, the same declaration that they put to Earth, they put also to other parts, making us, stopping us, humans, to be able to travel to them. Now, the other parts, which could be the giants or the spirits, could declare that they already have been or living in these places. We know spirits can travel to those places, so they can then travel freely between the planets. But
Cameron, if I can stop you for a second, when you said spirits, we can also apply this if we bring in the works of Steve Quayle, Paul McGuire, and others. We can apply this not to merely and Timothy Alvarino, especially. You're looking at the capabilities from a Atlantean type of civilization.
Yes.
And not necessarily spirits, but actual beings as opposed to spirits that have the technology.
I call them
the
spirits
technology.
I call them spirits because that's what we have in our terminology in the day-to-day life as we speak. But if we call other beings, if they can establish that they have established colonies over there and they are sustaining, self-regulating communities, by the declaration for Earth, that can also be copied for other planets, and therefore we will be, as humans, we will be prevented from traveling to them because the same declarations are being placed on these places as well. So we cannot travel to them, but they can travel freely if they can show that they are part of the self-regulating community living in those places, and therefore we cannot take them out. Does that make sense?
So establishing them as a lawful entity with equal rights, not only of the earth and nature, but also of everything that is in nature, no matter whether it's a human being or another form of a being. By doing that, therefore, what you're saying is that they can establish that as an entity and allow the bureaucratic and governmental systems, or in their case, their one world government aspirations, to not only conquer Earth, but to get their way back into heaven, where they believe is their rightful place. To do that, this is a way of bringing about doing this legally, lawfully on Earth to bring about the end.
Yes, and they are also quarantining humanity on Earth on its own, and not regarded because they regard humanity as a plague, and therefore you can see all the films that are coming out that regard humans as plagues. So they're saying
let me interrupt you here. When you say humans as plagues, more specifically, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong here, the seed of Adam, the lineage, the Adamic lineage as a plague, as opposed to the seed of Cain or the Nephilim, or whatever you want to identify as anything other than the seed of Adam, right?
Yeah, but they are not saying we are humans. They're saying humans. When I say humans, we are the seed of Adam, correct. They do not regard themselves as humans, so therefore they do not regard themselves as plagues. So what they're trying to do is all these movies that are coming out, showing that we wherever we conquer, we treat with it. We are treated like a virus. If you remember the Matrix film, the series, what is the main thesis of what's called Mr. Smith, who was the one maintaining the society. Basically, he regarded humans as the same as viruses, must be eliminated. So that is the kind of concept that they are pushing through, so that we are not able to go to and manage ourselves outside of Earth. On Earth, not only we have difficulty on Earth, how about if we go to other planets? We just make it worse. And this is a prerequisite for, once we establish the principle on Earth, then the same principle can be applied for others, and they just put in locks on travel from Earth to other places. So if you see that's what my estimate would be, that before we are able to travel between planets, they would have already established living beings on those planets, and therefore humans will be quarantined as infectious beings, which should be kept away from those planets. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Right.
But let me just ask you this: to the listener that's just tuning in or listening to this, to them, to a lot of people, this is crazy talk. Okay, I mean, really, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, with me, crazy talk. What's the legitimization of this? I mean, legitimize this for the audience and for us.
Right. So, is there the possibility that there exists one living being, one type of living being that is conscious, that is able to communicate with us? Do we know that there is a possibility of at least one of them coming out in the near future?
Oh, okay.
Right. Let's stop there. No. Do we know that there is a community, what do you call them, Wiccans, who call onto spirits, and they are dealing with spirits on a day-to-day basis?
Absolutely.
And do we not know that they are expanding within the society?
Absolutely.
Right. So
Russ Dizdar will guarantee. Yes. I'm sorry. Russ Dizdar talks about this, and absolutely, Wiccans as well as other Satanists. Yes.
Yes. So, at least well, we know as well that what's called. We know the Freemasonry builds upon what Wiccans do, which are called, some of their rituals are calling upon spirits. Now then the issue would be, well, we know that they are expanding within society, and more of them, even within the government, are believing and actually are dealing with these spirits. So if the masses do not know this, those who are in control or those who are working with the supernatural already know this, so this applies to them. So so would you say then at least a substantial part of those who are, quote, awakened or in the know, would they not know what we're talking about in this matter?
Yes.
Right. So that is then, therefore, this is a kind of not a war, but more like a kind of a conflict between the believers and those who believe in these things. On the surface of it, they will push it as Mother Earth. And
okay. All right. That makes sense.
You see, so we get marginalized by the fact that we get called religious fanatics. If we know what their agenda is, and we know that they actually believe in these things, then we know that when we deal with this kind of declarations, we have to be careful as to how we handle it. If we start be looking as what's called religious kooks, then we've lost the battle from the first round.
But the Christian aspect of this must be at the forefront. But tactically speaking, and I think I can, I think this is what you're saying, in a tactical battle, tactical earthly battle, you don't present with the Christian tactics and methods. You present with the practical, and then you're propelled by the Christian theological basis. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Well, if we know what it is, when issues present to us day by day, we know what the background is, we know what they're trying to achieve, then we can adjust to it. But
understood.
Right. Okay. So I just want to sort of push this in forefront and let others call in. I wish you
fantastic
all the best, guys, and thank you for raising these issues.
And thank you so much, Cameron. We really appreciate it. Thanks for staying up or getting up so early.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Take care.
All right.
Thank you.
Folks, we're a little bit late for the top of the hour break. We're going to have to reset the program clock, but it's well worth it. Cameron from London, UK. Always an interesting call. Interesting to think about it.
Yeah, it is. But I'm just going to say, our commercial break will be real short. We'll play a couple quick ads from our sponsors and come right back to your phone calls. But Cameron definitely gave me a lot more to think about and a different way to look at this. And what he said was very important. We'll be right back.
It's very interesting. Well, let me start off now, Joe. Let me just plug our very good friends, our partners in this radio enterprise, AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com. Very quickly, folks, time is running short. If you're concerned about Ebola, you're concerned about any type of hemorrhagic virus or whatever virus, certainly go over to AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com, and all you have to do is in the search box type in NBC, like nuclear, biological, chemical, and up pops your NBC suit there with your mask. I mean, a full body suit, including your nitro gloves for under $300. And of course, they're still running their special, a free clean sip straw with every purchase of $50 or more, as well as the mega special, their grand opening special. That, including shipping, $1,900. You get a 6 foot by 4 foot pile, if you will, or a box full of mini boxes full of heavy on the protein, vegetables, and fruits. So it's a fantastic offer, all at AmericanSurvivalWholesale.com.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our third and final hour of this Thursday edition of the Hagmann Hagmann Report. Today is the 16th of October, and we are just rolling along. This month will be gone before it even registered in my mind that we're in October. Did you have something you wanted to add before we go to calls?
I just want to say I want to thank Barbara Kay for sending me an email. John B. Wells, introductory guest on episode 150 with Bill Salas, spoke about Mr. Duncan, the patient zero as he's referenced. He claims to have uncovered information with regard to where Duncan got the money for his ticket and relating to a company associated with the CIA. I'm going to have to check that out. Of course, John B. Wells, a good friend of the program, and he's got his program, Caravan to Midnight. Going to have to check that out. I think that's episode 150 with Bill Salas. Interesting piece of information there.
Absolutely. All right, we're going to go to the phones, and you just gave me an area code here. We're looking. I see one here. Area code 303. We're coming to you. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hi, Doug, Joe. How are you doing? It's Ken in Denver.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, Ken.
Hey, buddy. How you doing? Hey, I was just really compelled to call in tonight. I mean, your last caller was just unbelievable. I mean, just really a subjugation of the Lord's Word and what's going on and what really is, and just kind of what I felt was a dissemination of the absolute truth. I mean, just kind of running through and bouncing off of a couple of things and highlighting a few things and this, that, and the other, and just really tried to, I guess, basically subjugate the Word. And just my kind of feeling on that and everything. Really wasn't the reason that I called in to begin with and everything. And I don't call in very often. I mean, very seldom at all. But I just wanted to kind of jump out to everybody and just say that there's a lot of information out there right now, and people really need to do the very best that they can to disseminate it, break it into what affects them, where they are spiritually and physically and location, and kind of get just a handle on your life. These times are very, very, very trying at the moment. The money markets are really crazy right now, and a lot of things are happening all over the world. And what I really believe is that people really need to position themselves so that they're non-dependent on anything else. And this is kind of some of the message that I just wanted to bring to everybody tonight. I just want you to understand that you really need to, you have to be able to take care of yourself before you can become your brother's keeper. So do that first. Strive to make that really a paramount position that you're having in your life. Right now is very, very, very critical. I'm astute to a number of different people. I think Doug and Joe can attest to that. I'm not somebody who's on the outside. I'm not somebody who's way on the inside, but I have enough information that I really think that everybody really needs to, between now and tomorrow, to be quite honest with you, tomorrow or the end of the month or whatever. But I really think the next 90 days are going to be very critical for everybody. And it's very important to be a day early than a day late.
Boy, you got that right. As we've seen with the various, I mean, think back to Hurricane Sandy, for example, and what we saw on the East Coast with the people trying to get water and generators. Heck, over here in the towards Ohio, almost you could not find a generator in the stores. I mean, they were cleared out. So, yeah, you've got to think ahead. I totally agree with that. What do you see taking place over the next 90 days, or even let's extend this into 2015, into September 2015, October 2015. What do you see taking place? What's the biggest thing you see taking place?
Well, Doug, I talk with a number of different people, and I just kind of have to. What I do is I listen to all of them, and I'm not going to get into names, but there are people that everyone on your show knows, and I'm in a fortunate situation to be able to talk with a lot of them. Most everybody I talk to from the financial side says we have a really major downturn going down into the year. Well, I think we can already see that coming. The markets are down dramatically for the last 2 or 3 days last week. And we'll wake up in the morning and see where they go. Maybe they bounce back. Maybe the plunge protection teams push them up a little bit more and make them look a little bit more attractive. Maybe they don't. I don't know. My point being is simply this, and I think from a number of different hosts, and I'm not going to get into fear-mongering and all that stuff. The thing that I want to impress upon people more than anything is, if you have the capability to go out and store some water, store the capability to purify water, store foods, be they cans off the shelf, be they the more expensive freeze-dried foods, whatever. People can live without electricity. They cannot live without water, number one, food, number two, and protection from the elements. So I really think that you need to look at those type of things. And if you're capable, and I understand there might be a lot of people who listen to you, I know your audience reasonably well, and I'm sure it's very diverse and very mixed. But, I really believe that it's a good time that if you have the ability to go grab some extra stuff and put it back. Yeah, and I understand there's a lot of people who have the ability to go out and grab a whole lot for a long time and all that. But the thing that's more important, can you last 10 days more? Can you last 30 days more? Can you last 60 days or 3 months?
Can you help others
people
also?
Well, they would be really surprised how little amount of money it takes to get enough food to last for 30, 60 days. Now, are you going to be able to maintain a 3,200 calorie count a day? No. But you know what? A can of SpaghettiOs gives you like 11. That's the difference between starving to death and not.
Yep.
And a can of SpaghettiOs is, if you're really smart, ain't that much, and then, the ability to filter some water. There's a lot of things out there right now that are just astronomically unbelievable. The water systems that can be had for nothing $20 that will filter 100,000 gallons of water. That's a difference between living and dying.
Absolutely.
For $19.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I mean, it's out there. You can go to a number of different websites. You can find it. I would almost bet that any person that lives within a reasonable size metropolitan area or close to, there's probably a survival shop, whatever. You can even find these things at the big sports stores, like you know what they are. I don't remember.
Field and Stream and such.
Yeah, Field and Stream and whatever. I mean, the Life Straw. That you can buy that online for $20. You can take that and stick it. Yeah, you can take that and stick it in a lake and drink water out of it that's not going to kill you for $19, and it'll do like 30,000 gallons of water. It's good for that amount. Well, that's the difference between life and death.
Hey, our sponsors are having that sale, and that's why we're so heavy on with our sponsors, American Survival Wholesale. They're giving away those straws free, by the way, for orders. You can buy them, by the way, for $19.99 or $20.
Yeah.
It's thinking like that.
They're a little bit of nothing. And one of the things that I'm really, and Doug, you know what I do, and you know who I push things to, and all that stuff. And one of my big pushes right now is for people to care about survival stuff, survival medical stuff, this, that, and the other. What do you do? How can you do it? Where do you go? What do you need? And, I'm pushing the people that I have availability to radio hosts, to talk about things like that. We can beat up the New World Order all we want to. We can talk about the dollar that's going to crash. We can talk about all that stuff. I think one of the more important things right now is talking about what people need to do to prepare themselves, period. What does it take to do this? Where do you go to find that? How do you get this? Oh, you don't have a whole lot of money. Well, then do it this way. Don't do it that way. The people who have tons of money. Pardon me?
Yeah, the point is well taken, and we have to emphasize the survival aspect of this because, look, we don't have. How on my shelf at my home, for example, you mentioned SpaghettiOs. Do you realize, Ken? I bought, and I'm a coupon shopper, so what I had to do was I had to tear out coupons and double coupons. I bought 10 cans of SpaghettiOs, or the variations thereof, for essentially 10 cents a piece. 10 cans for $1 after my double coupons and the store credit, or the store thing. So, you can do that.
I've heard people tell me, well, the Del Monte's and this or that, and I don't want to pay that. And I go like, you know what? When you're hungry and you haven't had anything to eat for 3 days, if you had a can of 33-cent SpaghettiOs, ravioli, can of green beans, when you've been hungry for 2 days, I can assure you that will be like filet mignon.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree
about it. And I'm the kind of guy, I have a lot of canned foods, and I'm blessed enough to where I've been able to do the freezer-eyed stuff as well, the 25-year shelf food. And, I keep that pumped away somewhere else and all of that. But, in my home, right now, today, I could feed 4 people for probably 90 days. Nobody would starve, and and I'll be honest with you, there's probably less than $500 worth of stuff there. Well, if you look at that, and you look at it in a preparation standpoint, and you buy a little bit of that each month, it works out. And I got news for you. I walk into the store, wherever it is, and I shop the Mart, and I shop some of the other stuff. I don't buy a can of anything unless I flip it over, and I look at it and see what the expiration date is on it. I've got canned stuff in my house right now that punches out 2018.
Yeah, I do too. And sometimes you have to reach way in the back of the shelf to get those.
Yeah. You don't ever pick the stuff off the front of the thing. You push everything aside and you go to the back and you look at the can. If it's mid 2017 or above, you buy that. And
yeah.
And if you really go and you look at expiration dates, that stuff is really good for probably another 2 years, as long as the can's not dented, it's not in any way compromised. So, I mean, you can literally get 4-year shelf life food, for the most part, off of your Walmart counter. If you reach back, grab the really newest thing that's there, put it in your thing, and go put it somewhere else. And, I mean, the point about this is not about food. The point about this is about with everybody that I talk to and everything, I just really believe you really need to prepare yourself. Just get out there, do it, get as much as you can, get as much as you can afford. I'm not even going to get off into the gold and silver thing. I'm just talking about sustaining yourself. Number one.
All right, my brother. But yes, water has to happen, man. If you can't do water, you're done. Yes. And food, a point well taken. And we don't. And Ken, I want to thank you for your call. I got to tell you, I don't think we stress enough that, every day or every week, if you can just add to your pantry just a can or 2 cans or 3 cans, pretty soon you'll have a pantry full of food before you know it. And if you do it right with coupons, and I mean, hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You can actually double your money.
Buy the pastas, buy the high carb stuff that's 30 cents a pack. If you get to that point, something's better than nothing.
Absolutely,
and it doesn't matter if it's a bag of rice, a bag of beans, a bag of spaghetti, macaroni, elbows. It doesn't matter. It's about getting the carbs. It's about getting the proteins and stuff like that. But like I say, more importantly, I really think people need to start paying attention. There's a lot of things going on right now that are very conducive, very indicative of possibly bad times to happen really quickly. And I'm not just saying that. A lot of the people I talk to and a lot of the people that I talk to are very well-learned people in this area. And Doug knows a lot of them as well. And, I'm prepared. I don't worry about me. I don't worry about mine. I know Doug's prepared. I know that a lot of the people that are on Doug's show are prepared. And I know that we talk to everybody and we try to tell them, get prepared. Folks, get prepared. Do something. Do it now.
All right, my brother. That's sage advice. I mean, sage advice. We're going to close on that note.
Just do it.
All right,
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful evening.
Hey, you too,
man.
Thank you
for your time.
Thanks, Ken.
It's great to talk with you. And that's very, very, very sage advice, folks.
Everybody, take care of yourself.
Right on, brother. Thank you. Folks, yeah, a step at a time if you're in that position, like we all are. And when Ken said, I'm prepared, preparation's relative, isn't it, Joe? I mean, you could have 10 cans on the shelf or 100 cans.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You could have no cans.
No cans.
Your prep's becoming spiritual in nature more so than in physical preps. But, yeah, we have to understand that there is a time coming that is of great uncertainty as to the systems of supply and demand, the way we live today. We go to the convenience store if we need milk, or grocery store when we need food, and these might not be available and will not be available when we have times of serious calamity or until they are brought down for reasons of consolidation through disorder.
I just want to say this, and Ken just made a glancing reference to this, and I laugh because people think, well, boy, you must have a lot of gold and silver. Yeah, right. Well, no. I'll tell you one of the family things we do, folks. You can do this among yourselves too. Take $20, $30, $40, whatever you can afford, to the bank, and you'll get this back anyway. And swap your bills out for rolls of dimes and quarters, and make it a family project. Have your children sit down, have your children look for pre-1965 or 1964 and below dimes. Dimes especially. There seem to be a lot of them out there. And heck, we did this as a family project. I think we found probably, 20, 27 dimes that were pre-1964 and probably 4 rolls that we went through. No. I take that back. It was more like 14 rolls, but you get the idea. Things that don't cost you anything, and you roll them back up, take them to the bank, get your money back after you replace the dimes, of course, that you've taken out. And right there, you've got a start of your silver. Same with cans, and it seems like. This seems like kindergarten stuff to talk about. It's so elementary. It's so basic. But if you just simply every day you go to the store, grab a few cans, like Ken said, and that's what I do too. I reach way in the back to get because they rotate their stock. The stores rotate their stock, so the products that are going to expire first are out front. So you reach in the back to grab the newest delivery cans. Never grab anything on the the aisles where the aisle ends of the aisles. Always go into the center of the aisles and grab cans from there, or grab your foodstuffs from there. And the other thing too, what he mentioned, and I just want to drive this point home. Yesterday, I think it was, it was this past weekend. I ate macaroni and cheese that was stored very properly. It was, wrapped in a container. I think my wife bought it at Sam's or one of the big box stores. The expiration date was 2014. Now, I'm sorry, 2014. We're in 2014. It was a year past the expiration date. My wife said, "You're not going to eat that, are you?" And I inspected the contents. I looked at this was packed and it was stored properly, and it was fine. Now, you have to use common sense when you do this, but to avoid wasting food, you should always keep an eye on expiration dates. And what I do, because the expiration dates are so hard to read as you get older, take a Sharpie and mark the expiration dates using a Sharpie in big numbers on the side of the can or on the top of the can, wherever you might look, and just go through your pantry or have your children go through your pantry and just do that so you know what you've got. You don't have to spend $1,000 or $1,900 or $2,900 or $5,000 for long-term food store or long-term storable food. You can if you have the means. But if you don't have the means and you're sitting listening to this program thinking, "Hey, it's hopeless," no, it's not hopeless. And what Joe said too about spiritual preparation, boy, that is perhaps the most important part of everything. Know that we're already fighting from a position of victory. Know that you're not alone. Programs like powers, we will fight with you. We will be there with you, for you, as long as possible, until the end, until we can no longer broadcast, or until we can no longer be a part of your life. That's our promise to you. That's a fellowship, too, that we offer.
And we'll take another call here in a second, but just a few Bible verses I wanted to read that I came across. In Timothy it says, "Yea, all that will live godly in Christ Jesus shall suffer persecution." In Philippians 1:29, "For unto you it is given in behalf of Christ not only to believe on him, but also to suffer for his sake." It goes on to Peter 1:4, "If any man suffer as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but let him glorify God on this behalf." And it goes on to say, another scripture I wrote is, out of all that suffering for the Lord's sake while on this earth, it says, "Who shall separate us from the love of Christ? Will tribulation or distresses, persecution or famine, nakedness or peril? The Lord is good, a stronghold in the day of trouble, and he knoweth them that trusteth in him." So, yes, we're told calamities are coming upon the earth, great calamities, distresses, tribulations, pestilences, famines, persecutions. But if we trust in him, if we make him our refuge, he will take care of us. And that's a promise, a guarantee from him. And the spiritual preparedness can start there, by understanding and not just stating it or thinking you know it, but actually believing in and being able to trust the Lord without trying to interject ourselves as humans into the situation to fix it or make it better like we think we can, when only the Lord can change us the way we need to be changed. He can protect us the way we'll need to be protected. And we'll go back to the phones. I just wanted to read those because those are a few that jumped out at me while I was doing some reading the other day. 704, we're coming to you next. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Yeah, hi. Joe,
good evening.
Doug. Hey, it's pretty amazing to talk to you guys.
Well, it's amazing to be talking to.
Hey, I just got one. Doug?
Present.
Yeah, sorry. Hey, what I was just going to say is when this stuff really hits the fan, which appears to be, getting ready to hit the fan pretty soon, is that minded people who are, trying to survive, the way to look at it, we're all separated and we really have no rendezvous points for getting people together to try to save the system or whatever way you want to look at it. So I'm just going to encourage people to have the conversation with your friends and try to band together and figure out how, when the things really get bad, who to get together with to try to ride this thing out.
Yeah, we're not going to be able to do it alone. We're going to need a community locally. Aside from our listenership, if we had the ability to know where everybody else in our listening audience was, that wouldn't be enough. We have to establish local communities first off, because you will not survive what's coming alone. That's point one. Point two is without the diversity of trades and levels of understanding and different areas of expertise, those will all come in handy. There's a lot of things we don't think about. When society will break down, a lot of people who have prepped for years and years think they have everything that they ever need for the next 3 years, forget certain basic aspects like first aid or, simple things. And, we can never cover everything that we need as a community and by ourselves.
And caller, that's the other reason why we are so we're proponents of these conferences, because at conferences, by attending them, you can meet like-minded people, and you'd be surprised to watch this in action. Joe and I stepped back when we were in Orlando and in Bozeman, and we watched people talk to one another and say, we're only 100 miles from you, or we're only 50 miles from you. And it's an amazing thing to watch where people can actually get together, not knowing one another before the conference, and kind of have fellowship as well as make plans as well, together. So you're exactly right, caller. I mean, we need this remnant. We need to have whatever, however we come out on the other side. We need to have a cohesiveness about us and among like-minded people. So I agree 100%.
Yeah, because I don't know how much longer, the things are going to be held together, because it's really hard to, travel around anymore without being, concerned about the possibility of running into somebody who might have been on one of those planes or something like that. So it's just going to be tough. I just want to give everybody a heads up. And, again, I think people got to band together and quit being kind of, kicking this around like it's not really happening, and just get down to the nitty-gritty and just talk to your close friends and talk about how, to get through this, you're going to need your friends really to help you out. And if they're friends in Christ, which hopefully they are, that's who you're going to want to band with. And I think that's where I think Christ is going to come out and really become much more prevalent, and people are going to start waking up to, getting together with Jesus and figuring out, how to get through this thing. So
I agree.
Giving everybody a heads up. So
all right, brother.
Okay.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the
guys.
call.
Yep. Right,
and Joe, by the way, one way of doing this, and I'll just share this with the listeners. Earlier today, at my home, I had a electrical problem. It was a question, more of a question than a problem, I guess, as it turned out to be. But I called somebody from it was a contractor actually, but not a big company contractor. Somebody out of the newspaper who has their own business, and a nice guy. He arrived to my home and he looked at my problem, and we were talking. He said, and I shook his hand, and he said, "Boy, I don't know if I'd do this another 2-3 weeks," making reference to the Ebola situation or the virus situation. And so we got to talking, and it's interesting. And so this guy's an electrician. He's got the electrical skills, and just simply by talking with him, I made friends with him. Him and I became more than acquaintances now. But he's thinking in the same way I'm thinking, and I guess I'm sharing this with you because, folks, you can do this too, just by simply talking with people that you meet that have special skills, whether it's your electrician or a plumber or somebody who you might be able to when I say use, I mean interact with down on the other side of this or during this crisis, whatever crisis we face. Yeah, it does require a little bit of effort on your part to go out and look for like-minded people. When I say effort, it doesn't take that much effort. Just all you do is have to talk. And neighbors, talk with your neighbors if you haven't already, to find out where they're at. I would not share, and let me caution you about this as well, I wouldn't share any personal information in terms of what you've got stored away or what I would just kind of make the inquiries and develop a relationship there, especially with like-minded people. That's not to distrust people. That's just to keep yourself out of trouble.
So the inventory I made of all your storable foods and supplies that I posted on the internet, I should probably remove, huh? With your address, name, hours of operations.
Yeah. Well, let me just say this: anyone who wants what I have, what little I have, certainly, okay. You know, and that's the other thing too. Yeah, you know, you can't. You're not going to be able to do this by yourself. You mentioned it, Joe. Of course, you know, we've got to be rooted in the Word. However, you're not going to be able to stay up all night, guard your food all night. Even if you have a small pantry, a cooler of food. I mean, you know, you've got to be able to have the system, have others around with you, people that you can trust, whether it's family, friends, whatever. So, yeah.
All right, let's move on to our next caller. We're going to go to the Montana area, 406 area code. We're coming to you. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hey, Doug and Joe, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, appreciate you guys a lot. Appreciate your boldness to stand up for the Lord like you do. The Lord says, you confess me before men, I'll confess you before the Father and the holy angels. And I appreciate you guys, and you're getting bolder and bolder with the gospel. I just wanted to make a comment, you know, that the fellow was talking about the foods and stuff. Sometimes canned food, you have to think about the fact that it can freeze and it'll break. But some of the healthiest food you can get is actually the cheapest food you can get. And like, say, for instance, I don't know about where you live, but in the Northwest, you can buy 25 pounds of lentils or split peas for $9, you know. And with a vacuum sealer, you can put it away for 20 years. And it's very, very inexpensive to have healthy and good food. And sometimes people don't think about some of the most basic things. I asked a friend of mine that's kind of a millionaire. I says, brother, how many matches do you have in your house? And he said, matches? He said, maybe a couple books. And he's got indoor swimming pool, but just a couple of books of matches in his house, you know. And some of the most simple things that are easily available now, $1.63 for 50, around here anyway, $1.63 for 50 books of matches, or, you know, 100 fishing hooks for $3 or something, and 1,600 yards of fishing line for 99 cents. I mean, it's just some of the simplest things that are taken for granted that are so easily available.
Very well said. Yeah, yeah, and a lot of people don't think of that, being able to take like a bag of rice from one of the major box stores and to seal it up in different containers, and it stored properly, you can have it for a long time, or lentils or whatever.
Yeah, rice doesn't keep as well; it goes rancid before other things do. But lentils, wheat, beans, things like that, you can keep 20 years vacuum sealed. And but the vacuum sealer is your friend at this time, because it'll keep anything, even things that would rust or whatever. If you vacuum seal something, put it in like a plastic or a rubber or plastic can, like 5-gallon can or something like that. Keep the mice and stuff away from things, and keep it a long, long time. And one can of propane, like they use on a barbecue, with a little attachment that you can buy at Walmart, and a little propane stove, and you can cook for a half a year with that thing, just with something like that.
Very, very good. Yes, Holly Dale in her book Dare to Prepare goes into various things like you're talking about. But yeah, very, very well said. That the propane stove I found to be an extremely good bachelor tool when the wife is away, but but yeah, you can cook a lot on that. I mean, a long time on that propane stove.
Yeah, so many basic things that are so readily available. Garden seeds that are heirloom seeds, you vacuum seal them, they'll last for 20 years also. And so many simple things that people take for granted, that and it's available right now. But I was just going to say that a comment I have is that, you know, if things get cold, canned food will blow up, and if you haven't got a way to keep the house. And another thing is to really, if you have friends in a more rural setting, in the middle of the metropolis area, it's just going to be pretty hard to maintain anything. Everybody, prophetic people have all said that the major cities are going to turn into a war zone. David Wilkerson, and he had a vision, and he said, I saw every major city in the United States on fire. That's what he saw in a vision before he died. And so if you have friends on the edge somewhere, it's a little better context, where at least you can have some firewood and some basics. But
absolutely,
it doesn't take much, You can go to a lumber yard and get a lumber wrap, a tarp that they use for wrapping lumber. They give them away, and that makes a difference between a shelter that leaks and one that doesn't. If you're ever in a situation.
Very, very good advice. I'm aware of that. We have a lot of Amish sawmills, and they in turn deal with lumber yards. And yes, you can actually. You're right. They give those tarps or those covers away, or throw them away. But very inexpensive way to create a shelter if need be.
Yeah, the one thing it's good is is to test some of the skills now. It's not a good thing if somebody hasn't ever caught fish and known how to deal with them or how to make a smoker or how to. It's a good thing to try it ahead of time and not in the middle of a snowstorm somewhere. To figure out ahead of time how to do some of these basic things, not just have the theory of it.
One of the exercises I do recommend is if you're really adventurous or if you feel adventurous, folks, go ahead and turn the power off to your house for the weekend, especially now as we are changing seasons, and see how you would last without power for the weekend. What do you do? And that will prepare you for a time without power, for example, or when you need to think of alternative means, whether it be cooking or washing, taking a bath, and so on. So very good. Yeah.
And man, one of the other things to remember is the simplest house they ever built in the old days when the poor people came west with the wagon trains and stuff, and they just dug in the side of a hill, go to dugout. It's warm as toast, and all they had to do is put a front on one side of it, and it stays. You didn't even need to hardly heat it. It stays warm. All you need is a shovel.
Very good. Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Make sure you've got some tools. Don't forget the tools, the shovels, whatever. And that's a very good piece of advice. So very good, my friend.
And blessings to you guys.
All right. God bless, man.
Have a great night.
Good calls tonight. Getting back to basics or reminding us of the basics. Very good thing to do.
Absolutely. Let's get another call in. Let's go to area code. Let's see. Let's go to the mystery number. It's showing up as 111. It might be unlisted. If you heard the beep, you're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Yes. Hi. I'd like to say hello to you and your callers and the listeners. I'm sorry. I work with my daughter, and over the past year, I've had her listen, and I've told her about what's going on, and I've awakened her. She said something really interesting, which you and our listeners will make the connection real quick. She said, "Where is the Republican convention going to be in a couple of years from now?"
Dallas?
And where was the plane that came in with the Ebola patient that was allowed to come in?
Okay, fill me in.
Dallas?
No, Cleveland.
Oh, this latest one, yeah.
Yeah.
The RNC or the Republican convention is going to be in Cleveland?
Yes. Yeah, Dallas. It was Dallas and Cleveland won it. But she says, you know what? It's kind of interesting that it landed here, and it'll have time to incubate, and who knows? But it was just kind of interesting that she brought that up.
Wow. Well, you were an added girl for us because I didn't realize that. Very interesting comment.
I know, because she was sick, of course, and she had a fever, and they said, "Yeah, sure, go ahead. You can go home and see your family." Yeah, why not?
Yeah. None of this is logical. None of it makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Unless, at least not to the average person. I think though, it will make sense to us as we see things unfold, and the veil is lifted back from the plans of these nefarious power brokers. Very good observations. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, may see you in Dublin.
All right, sir. That'll be fun.
Have a good night.
Thanks for the call. All right, we can get one more call.
I just got to say this real quick, Joe. Every time somebody says see you in Dublin, I'm thinking, man, I ain't traveling overseas. Ireland, yeah.
Yeah,
I ain't flying. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Dublin, Ohio, suburb of Columbus, so got to keep that in mind. And I think that's loud thunder we're hearing. You're not hearing things, I hear it too.
Okay,
the
I
giant
wasn't
is not
sure.
taking our house. It is thunder.
I wasn't sure if outside the studio if we were getting bombed, shelled,
that
or
was kind of loud, and it was a series of loud shakes. All right, 772. You're up next. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hi, Doug Joe.
Good evening.
I just had two quick comments. Your caller last week, just my neighbor down south of me, was talking about the Christmas tree and all that stuff. And I was thinking about the soldier that put his hand out to grab the ark. Our good intentions can put us in a bad position with God. It doesn't matter what we think or feel, it's what God's word says. The second thing, Doug Joe, I sent you an email about this, but the doctor and the nurse that came in were supposed to be working for Samaritan's Purse. Are there two Samaritan purses? And if not, where is the statement from Franklin Graham? And I'll take my answer offline.
Hold on, caller. I'm unfamiliar with Samaritan Purse. What is that?
Well, Dr. S had mentioned. Go ahead,
a minister
caller.
supposed to be by Franklin Graham, Samaritan's Purse.
Okay.
Yeah, and I haven't heard anything from him.
All right. I will have to do some digging and see what's going on there.
Yeah, I thought that was strange if two of his volunteers or whatever was infected like this, and he hasn't come out and made a statement about them unless there are two Samaritan persons. And I haven't heard of another one.
No, I haven't heard of another one either, and we will investigate that. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. We'll do some inquiries. We'll make some inquiries. I just marked this down. Appreciate the call very much.
All right, thanks, guys.
Wow.
Thank you.
Interesting, yeah. It's true. I didn't know that. Okay.
Tomorrow night, Nathan Leal is our guest, and we will be talking about a number of things. More of what is yet to come upon the earth. What does the Scripture say about our future? What time of this before God's kingdom are we in? A lot of people say that there's a spiritual heaviness, and we felt it. And since I think the Obama's reelection, many people started to feel it. It's been increasing in intensity. This feeling of spiritual, awareness, spiritual, this heaviness, and we have to understand and prepare our minds that things will change, and we need to have the strength to overcome, no matter what. So keep that in your mind always. Look to the Lord and make sure, as I said, your spiritual preparations are first and foremost, or else nothing else is important.
Right on. I couldn't have said that better. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for tuning in tonight. I want to thank Karen. Thank you. She sent Feed a Family of 4 for 1 year for less than $300. And with a link to a website, we'll be talking about that. In fact, we'll put that up. We'll go over and put that up on our website as well, HagmannHagmann.com. Don't forget, folks, next week, Fire in the Valley in Augusto Perez is going to be talking, of course, at the Valley Church in Caldwell, Idaho, October 24th, 25th, and 26th. If you're near there, that's Augusto Perez, the Appearance Ministries of Fire in the Valley, Reaping the Harvest. Next weekend, October 24th, 25th, and 26th, that's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The event, I believe, is free of charge. Augusto is a man of God with a strong prophetic calling, folks. That would be great if you can go to that, as well as, of course, the conference in Dublin or Columbus, Ohio, and that'll be November 14th and 15th. But until tomorrow night's guest, Nathan Leal, looking forward to that very well. Very, very excited about that. Until tomorrow, God bless. Stay safe. Thanks for listening.
Have a good night, everyone.